Good morning. Welcome to the Outspoken Artist. I'm here with Josh
How's
at
it going?
Cars and Coffee over here in Provisions in Wesley Chapel, Florida. Josh, thank you for sitting down with me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to interview me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, Josh, with 7th Gear Exotic, and just a little bit of what you guys do.
Yeah, so we ran out exotic cars. Started in Ohio about 4 years ago, and now we're down in Tampa, Florida. It's beautiful, sunny Florida. Can't really knock that. But so what I do is I take care of events. I do transportation for us here at 7th Gear, as well as manage the fleet and run our Instagram page.
Nice, nice. And what kind of car do we have behind us?
We have a Maserati MC20, and then we got our Ferrari 812 over there.
Tell us a little bit about what is the demand like for renting these cars. What is the demographic that tends to rent them?
You know, the demographic it's kind of broad. You know, you get a lot of everybody. You know, people that want to try the car out for one or 2 days. You know, or you get somebody a big wig that wants to take it for like a week or two. You know, it really just depends on the day and depends on the person.
And now, do you only have Ferraris and Maseratis, or what do you have in your fleet?
We got just about everything for everybody. So we got anything from Rolls Royces all the way to Porsche Cayman. You know, it's anything for everybody.
Is there a particular requirement to be able to rent one of these? Normally, people can't even rent a little Focus from Enterprise. What about some of these guys?
We make it easy for everybody. So we want to make sure you have full coverage insurance and a valid driver's license, and that's it.
Have you ever had any horror stories with renters?
I mean, yes. You're always going to run into those issues, but it's very, very few. You know, for the most part, it's pretty easy.
Good. At least people are respectful of these cars. How did you get started managing these vehicles and doing all that? What was your...
So how I got brought into it, I got real lucky. I made a phone call to one of my good buddies I used to work with back up in Ohio, and you know, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw on his page he was driving all these exotic cars. I'm like, DM'd him. I'm like, how do you doing this, right? And he explained to me 7th Gear, and from there I called him. I was like, dude, I want a job. You know, we got to talking more, and then he's like, let me hook you up, and it was probably a couple weeks later. He was like, hey, I got a job for you. I know you know how to transport cars, and I need to bring a car up from Ohio to Florida. So brought a car down to Florida, and so on and so forth. I kept doing a couple of those jobs here and there, and they brought me on full time.
Nice. Now that you're doing the transport, you also mentioned the Instagram page.
Yeah.
What is the management of an Instagram page for a company that does this? What does it involve? How many photographers do you have to work with and all that?
So I'm working with a lot of different photographers and videographers. You know, we like to get a lot of different content, and having 2 locations, it can get tricky, you know, managing different people. But as long as you stay in contact with them and get the content that you need, it's going to be successful.
No, that's good. I see a lot of filmmakers, photographers here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them love the cars, want to photograph the cars, want to try to get their foot in the door,
right,
and potentially with a dealer or maybe like 7 Exotic. What are some tips that you can give to a filmmaker, photographer on what they can do to either stand out or just get their foot in the door?
I would say master your craft. Truly, you want to present the best quality footage that you can to whoever you're going to work for. You know, I got a guy right now. I want to bring him onto the team, and he's brought me consistent content with good quality. So we'll see where that one goes. But for anyone that wants to get their foot in the door, just start asking questions to anybody. You know, start asking. You know, kind of put a little bit of pressure on people, but get what you want. You know, you got to get what you want.
You have to put yourself out there.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you know, if you don't talk to people, you don't ask them, then
it's not going to happen.
Good point. You mentioned questions, right? Asking people questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the most common questions that either you get or your colleagues get when they see these cars? I know what questions I've heard from a friend of mine that owns different exotics. What do you usually get?
I get anywhere from how do you get into this to how do I buy one to I'm blanking right now, but it's
probably the allure, right? The
Yeah.
allure of the car. How do you achieve being able to take this thing either permanently or temporary?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
In regards to the demographic, and you mentioned that 7th Gear started in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
What does Tampa look like? Is it growing? Is there a lot of competition for renting cars?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. So when we first came down here, we were just about the only people that were down here. And ever since I saw that we were down here, the competition's been growing more and more. Now, these companies, they're smaller, and at the end of the day, it's all love. I want to see everyone succeed, but you have to be, since we were so established, we had that real good grasp at what we need to do and how professional we had to be with it.
Oh, that's good. In regards to the car culture, I've seen you at a few shows.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest misconception of people that own exotics that unfortunately some bad apples out there give a bad rep?
Yeah.
But what is a big misconception about people in these cars?
I feel like a lot of people that see exotic cars, they think they're just, it's some rich snob, he's not going to want to talk to me, he's not going to want to share these cars or share the experience, but no, at the end of the day, everyone's just a car guy. I can go with anybody with an exotic car and talk to them like they're my best friend, like I've known them for years. That's one thing I love about this car community down in Tampa. Everybody's a friend.
That's good. And do you have a favorite car that you've driven thus far?
That's a hard question to ask or answer. I would say probably the Porsche GT3.
Okay.
By far my favorite car on the planet.
Why?
It's a driver's car, overall sound, the feel of the car, you feel really connected with that car. And the only other car that I've ever gotten that in is cars I've built. And it's something you can buy that you don't have to build from the scratch,
Now I'm curious. What have you built?
Oh, goodness. I built a twin-turbo Mustang.
Nice.
I built a bunch of drift cars. And I built a bunch of stance cars back in Ohio.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Anything else? Any other secret trade that you have? I heard that you might DJ.
I do DJ.
Okay.
I do DJ. I play a couple of music festivals up in Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What is Ohio like? Any difference in Florida? What's the scene over there?
The scene up in Ohio, it lasts for about 4 months, because you got the cold winters, like super cold springs, and you get blistering hot summers, but it's a shorter season than Florida.
Okay, makes sense why you probably wanted to set some ground over here because you don't have to worry about snow and the hazards that come with that. Okay.
Exactly.
Last question.
Yeah.
How do we find Seventh Gear, and how do we find you?
So you can find me at probably any car show in Tampa. Also, you can take a look at our Instagram page, seventhgear.exotics. You can also take a look at our website, seventhgearexotics.com.
Awesome. Well, Josh, man, I really appreciate you joining me this morning.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And now I'm going to photograph some B-roll for this thing.
Thank you, guys.